Have you ever wondered if the most expensive assets in the world are actually owned by anyone at all? When you buy a stock, a central exchange verifies your ownership. When you buy a house, a public deed records your name in a government office. There is a paper trail, a clear history, and a legal anchor. But what happens when you spend millions on a masterpiece? You are stepping into a shadow market. There is no SEC, no central registry, and absolutely no paper trail. It is a world built on extreme wealth and absolute secrecy. In this space, the rules of the financial world do not apply. You can wire $20 million for a canvas, and the only proof you have is a handshake and a private invoice. There are no public records to check, no way to verify who else might hold a claim to the same object. The art world operates in a vacuum, a place where the biggest transactions happen behind closed doors, away from any regulator or oversight. It is a playground for the elite, but it is also a place where ownership itself is an illusion, waiting to be shattered. Enter Inigo Philbrick. To the high-stakes world of fine art, he was the prodigy, the wunderkind who seemed to possess a sixth sense for the next market-defining masterpiece. He moved through gallery openings and private dinners with an ease that disarmed even the most guarded billionaires. Investors did not just want his advice, they sought his approval. He spoke with the confidence of someone who had seen the future of the art market and held the keys to it. He curated a presence that felt both exclusive and inevitable. When he pitched an opportunity, he did not need to show complex spreadsheets or verified records. He offered proximity to greatness. He built his reputation on a series of rapid, high-profile flips that seemed to defy the slow pace of the traditional market. Investors lined up, eager to hand over millions, blinded by the promise of massive returns and the thrill of participating in his inner circle. They trusted him because he looked the part of a man who could not possibly fail. They did not realize that the foundation of his empire was not built on art, but on the absolute, unblinking faith of the people he charmed. Philbrick had a secret that turned his galleries into a house of cards. He was not just flipping paintings, he was multiplying them. Imagine a rare Basquiat canvas. In any regulated market, you sell it once. Philbrick played by different rules. He would sell a 50% stake to one investor, then sell another 50% of that same painting to a second, and then an additional 12% to a third. He was selling over 100% of a single object to people who never met and never spoke to one another. He treated these masterpieces like liquid currency, dividing them into fractional slices that existed only on his private spreadsheets. He created a reality where a single painting had 3 distinct owners, all believing they held the exclusive right to its future value. He became a magician of finance, turning a tangible canvas into a ghost asset. He was selling the same dream to different bidders, over and over again, harvesting millions from every transaction. To his clients, they were buying a piece of history. To Philbrick, they were merely funding the next stage of his deception. Unaware that the physical object they claimed to own was already accounted for, sold and resold in a cycle that defied every law of ownership. The fraud thrived because of where the art lived. Ultra-wealthy collectors rarely hang their investments in their homes. They move them to tax-free, high-security storage facilities known as freeports. These windowless warehouses are built for absolute privacy and zero oversight. The paintings sat in the dark, and the owners never checked if they were the only ones holding the deed. Philbrick weaponized this isolation. He took these already sold paintings and used them as collateral to secure multi-million-dollar loans from private lenders. He presented the same paperwork to banks that he used to lure his investors, effectively borrowing against assets he had already liquidated multiple times. He was the only person who could see the true, catastrophic ledger. Every loan added a layer of complexity to his balance sheet. He moved capital constantly, paying off one debt by securing another, using the art as a phantom anchor to keep the banks from looking too closely. He built a labyrinth of debt and overlapping claims that spanned continents, hidden behind the high-security walls of climate-controlled storage. The illusion was perfect, provided the lenders never asked to see the physical canvas. He was playing a game of musical chairs where the music never stopped, and he was the only one who knew the seats were already taken. A Ponzi scheme demands constant motion. When the market for certain artists began to cool, the cash flow dried up instantly. Philbrick could no longer shuffle capital to cover his tracks. The house of cards began to tremble. In late 2019, the structure collapsed. Philbrick defaulted on a $14 million loan, and the silence that had protected him for years finally broke. The reaction was immediate. Lenders and investors who had been satisfied with paperwork suddenly demanded to see the physical assets. They descended on the Freeports at the same time. The collision was inevitable. One lender arrived to seize a specific painting, only to find another investor already holding a claim to the exact same canvas. Then, a third party appeared with a duplicate bill of sale. The overlap was no longer a secret. It was a tangible, undeniable contradiction. The ledger was exposed as a work of fiction. Phone lines lit up with demands for answers that did not exist. The illusion of ownership vanished, leaving a trail of furious billionaires fighting over ghosts. Philbrick watched the walls close in as the legal notices piled up. He had run out of time, out of credit, and out of room to maneuver. Philbrick saw the end coming. He did not wait for the handcuffs. He shuttered his galleries, ignored the mounting pile of lawsuits, and vanished. He discarded his phone, burned his digital trail, and fled the country. For months, he moved through the shadows as an international fugitive, staying one step ahead of the FBI. He chose a destination that felt like the edge of the map, the remote island of Vanuatu in the South Pacific. He traded the high-stakes world of auction houses for a humid, sun-drenched landscape where nobody knew his name. He walked the dusty streets of a local market, thinking he had finally escaped the reach of American law. He was wrong. The federal agents had tracked his movements across the globe. They watched him from a distance as he navigated the stalls, unaware that his time had run out. They moved in quickly, cutting off his path before he could react. He reached for a bag, but the agents were faster. They grabbed his arms and pressed him against the heat of a wooden stall. The game was over. The man who had sold the world's most famous paintings as ghosts was now just another prisoner, stripped of his leverage and his freedom. The journey back to New York was short. The courtroom was cold, silent, and final. Philbrick stood before the judge, no longer the charismatic dealer of global renown, but a man facing the wreckage of his own design. He pleaded guilty to wire fraud, admitting to the web of lies that had sustained his existence. The sentence was 7 years in federal prison. The court ordered him to forfeit $86 million, a sum that represented the extent of his betrayal. Yet, the money was gone, and the paintings remained locked in dispute. Billionaires were left in a permanent stalemate, fighting for ownership of assets that existed only on paper. The case exposed a terrifying reality. In a market built entirely on trust and absolute secrecy, a single dealer with a forged bill of sale can sell the same ghost over and over again. It raises a question that haunts the high-end art world today. Is the lack of regulation a playground for predators? Or is the risk simply the price of admission for the ultra-wealthy? The house of cards fell, but the shadows in the art market remain. What do you think?